Bom dia, gente. Espero que você tenha bom dia. This is your man Larry, the American Brazilian, saying good morning. I hope you guys are having a great day. Listen, I had something that was on my heart I wanted to share with you guys, and it doesn't necessarily have a lot to do with travel, but travel can produce what I'm speaking about. There is a young man who comes to my business. I own and operate a barbershop, have been doing that for a number of years. And this particular young man, good, solid young man, but he's so soft-spoken, extremely docile. At one point in time, I thought, well, maybe there's some psychological issues that are going on. Of course, I'm no clinical psychiatrist, but it appeared to be that there was something missing, and I couldn't quite figure out what. Well, I've had encounters with his mother. Sometimes she will drop him off. And I even cut her hair one time, and I noticed some things about her, but that's really neither here or there. It's more so the young man. So yesterday he called to make an appointment, and of course I told him that there's a possibility that I may have to leave early. I'm fortunate enough where I can run by appointment only, and I have the autonomy where I can come and go as I please. So anyway, some things happened outside of work. I needed to leave a little bit early, so he called me back, and for whatever reason, I didn't answer the phone. I believe I was driving. Well, it was about literally 10 seconds later, the phone rang again, and I was like, oh, okay, well, let me pick it up. So I picked up the phone, and I was like, hey, man, and it was his mother. And she was a little bit forceful, but you can tell she was trying to maintain a level of decorum as not to come across like ultra aggressive and rude. But I could feel the aggression. It was, they used to have this term back in the day, nice nasty. And I mean, she wasn't nasty, but if you've heard that term, you understand where I'm coming from. Well, anyway, she began to say, well, oh, okay, well, are you going to be here? This, that. Oh, well. And, I explained to her, which I didn't have to. I had to leave a little bit early. This came up. I need to take care of this. I'll be back in the morning. He can just come, and I'll take care of him, no problem. And so when I got off the phone, I realized what I had been seeing was not necessarily a psychological issue in regards to any type of mental deficiency, but in fact, it was that she has broken his spirit. He, on a level of 1 to 10, in the range, in the area of confidence, I would probably say he has a 0.5, and that is being generous. And I say that because whenever I would speak to him alone, and I would mention something that he was passionate about, he would speak freely, and you could tell that he was passionate about it because he would put his everything into the conversation. And I realized that many young men are walking around with no confidence, with their spirit being broken. You can also observe this at any type of customer service station, where you have these young guys, they go up there and they're mumbling, and the representative say, excuse me, I can't hear you. And a lot of times they haven't been, I think when confidence is honed properly, and when someone can help facilitate the strengthening of a person's confidence, I think it increases logic, and I think it decreases emotion, and it kind of gives a person that strength, that inner strength, to be able to do something simple as to articulate and elocute what it is that they're trying to say and what they mean. And I thought about my own life, and I think, like, for me, my dad would do things, and like if my mom wanted to step in and try to do something, my dad would be like, no, let him, he's getting to be a young man. And I'm 13, 14. He's getting to be a young man. He needs to handle this on his own. He needs to begin to speak for himself, because the world is not going to respect a man who can't speak for himself. And it got to the point where, and this is one thing that I noticed, because I was beginning to think as a kid something was wrong with me, but my mom on her deathbed explained to me, she answered the question without me telling her. So when I was a kid, I would, as a younger, much younger, getting to be an older teenager, there were certain things that my mom would try to instruct me on and want me to do. And the advice would be good, but you know, when somebody wants to step in and do something for you, when confidence is being developed properly, it's met with resistance. Anything, well, let me say this: when confidence rather is healthy, even when it's being strengthened, anytime somebody tries to do anything to come against that confidence, it's met with resistance by the person who has that confidence. So there were times where I'll be like, no, Ma, let me do it. I got it. I'm good. I got it. And so in her mind, she would be like, well, he just doesn't listen. And it wasn't that. It's just the fact that I was confident and I wanted to do it on my own. You didn't have to do this for me. I need to do this on my own. And I remember on my mom's deathbed, she passed in 2018. Still bothers me. I was fortunate enough to have my mom in the house with me before she passed. And I remember one day she said, I always worry about you. And I say, why, Mom? And she said, it's not so much that I'm your mom, it's because you just do stuff. I said, what do you mean by that? She said, I remember when you were 6 years old, I told you that if you did this thing that I didn't want you to do, not that it was bad, but I didn't want you to do it, that you would get a spanking. And she said, you went into the room and you brought a belt and you said, here. And she said, well, what is that for? And I told her, you may as well beat me because I'm going to do it. And I've always been that way. Now, what's interesting is I forgot about that. But when she told me, it came vividly clear. I remember that day. I remember what I had on. It's crazy. But how does that relate to confidence? Well, I think as these brothers, you have two type of people. You have people that will go out who's confident enough to get on a plane by themselves, book them an Airbnb, walk alone, they make friends, and that increases their confidence. Then you have those who they might go with friends, or they may be just bold enough to at least try to go alone. But once they realize that things are not as bad as people say they are, it also builds their confidence. It strengthens who they are as a person. It gives them a certain degree of intestinal fortitude where they can deal with what life brings their way. Doesn't make them Superman, but you don't have to be. But you do, as a man, have to possess confidence. Now, when I thought about that whole Wakandris forever and all of that, and I'm not, here to bash women, I just think a lot of times, even in the media, there are things that subtly it tries to come against our confidence as men, to make us feel less than, to make us feel like we are not worthy, to make us feel like, well, you remember now, your mama showed you how to do this and your mama showed you how to do that. So truly you can listen to these people, and that's not always the case. So it just bothered me, but then it answered the question. And of course, not to get on his mom, but to look at her visibly, she's like, what, 5'2", 235 solid, not very attractive, but she's aggressive. She's very aggressive with him. And all of the encounters that I've had with her, it's like I had an epiphany for that moment. Wow, if she's that way with me and she doesn't know me, I could only imagine the type of stuff that she does with him and the things that she says to him and how he's being bossed around. The young man, I don't know if he has a spine. He has a spine, but he has no confidence, and that's unfortunate. And we as men have to be careful, because sometimes we can do it and it'll produce anger in a kid. They get super angry. So it's just a matter of honing the confidence the right way. And a lot of times that is done by simply giving them instructions and allowing a child to do something on their own. If they mess up, it's okay. Nelson Mandela had a quote. He said, there's only wins and lessons. There are no losses. Losses only occur when you stop trying. So just wanted to share that. It was on my heart. Shout out to the brothers out there doing their thing, traveling, building up their confidence, inspiring other guys, giving them confidence, and we can all win together. So I think it's a good thing. In any event, fala conversei mais tarde. Talk to you guys later. This is your man Larry, the American Brazilian, saying até a breve. É verdade.